Tayo Oloja is in Australia right now running an AI-powered tech education company. She is presented at Parliament House in Canberra. She's in banking as a senior business analyst. She's a mother, a wife, and a business partner to her husband. But 11 years ago, that same woman had $4 in her bank account in Australia. She stood at a grocery checkout, looked at a 90-cent loaf of bread and a dollar tub of margarine, and had to put things back.
Being in Australia made me the person that when I went to the shops, I'm thinking, this bread is 90 cents and this margarine is 85 cents.
She worked in a chicken factory. She cleaned food courts. She worked night shifts in aged care, absorbed the griefs of those families and residents as they passed, and then went back home alone.
A lot of immigrants are not proud to tell people what they do for work. They're not proud to tell their parents what they do for work.
She had to hide her struggle from her own parents because when you move abroad, you're not allowed to fail. Nobody told her that survival jobs would become her prison.
It was the fact that survival jobs was my ceiling as an immigrant.
Nobody told her that her visa would last and hold her hostage for 56 months. But then she met her husband, who helped her change all of that. My guest today is Tayo Oloja, and this is not just an immigrant story, this is a blueprint. Tayo, welcome to Two Continents, One Mic podcast.
Thank you for having me. Really excited.
I've been really looking forward for this one, and I'm going to tell the audience right now, right? We're going somewhere deep, and I hope you're ready, Tayo.
I am ready. Born ready. Let's do it.
Great.
Let's give the people what they want here.
Let's start from this, right?
Okay.
So, Tayo, your grandmother raised you. Tell me about that, because I think that is actually the foundation of everything that comes after.
Look, my background is very interesting. Growing up with my parents, but my parents were extremely busy. My dad used to be in the force and my mom a teacher. So both of them had career going. One good thing about Nigeria that I always say is you get that community. There's grandmothers, there's aunties, there's sisters. So for me, I happen to have my grandmother. She would always come around every time my mother would have a child. As the firstborn, I witnessed everything. So for me, she was always there, raised me. She's passed away now, unfortunately. One thing that comes to mind when I remember her is you have to dress the way you want to be addressed. She taught me from earlier on, like my appearance, the way that I look and the way that I do the things that I do would eventually determine how far I would go in life. So my grandmother was that person, like even in her old age, she would have her red nails. She liked to look a certain way. She didn't want to be disrespected by anyone. She just loved to look good. And she would always say to me, like, when you look good, everything flows from the inside. Like, it's like no one can say anything to you. So for me, it was good. Not having my parent around too much, I didn't feel it because my grandmother was such a positive woman. Dare I say, I enjoyed her presence much more than I enjoyed my parents' presence because like, we would just laugh. My parents were a little bit too serious with things. Like, yeah. But my grandmother, she was full of life. We would pant about things. No conversations was off limit. Yeah, contrast to my parents. So those are some of the few things that I would say that kind of really shaped me. I don't know if my parents liked the fact that I was painting my nails, had that early age, but they didn't have a choice. So
That's interesting because I think your grandmother, what she said, it's almost kind of like you have to let the beauty from within radiate outside. You know, when you dress good, you feel good. I feel like you're positive, you have confidence.
100.
And I think that's one thing people should take into account, you know. And I know you're
100.
going to tell us a lot more about how to get to that point because that's pretty much what you've dedicated your career to, you know, in building people, especially immigrants. So before you left Nigeria, what did success look like to you? Like, paint me the picture of a 21-year-old Tayo about to board the plane.
I'll be completely honest with you. Success looked very unreal. There was no definition for success. Let me put it that way. When I look back at the 21-year-old Tayo, She was that girl that she would move abroad. Life would suddenly be fine somehow. She would be successful somehow, but she didn't know exactly how she was going to get that success. She was going to travel. She didn't have a plan. So success didn't really look like you do this and you get Y. Success looked like I was going to figure it out. But what I eventually learned is when you don't have a plan, life somehow finds a plan for you. And most times it's never in your favor. So you have to take a hold of like your life. So for me, it took me a while. I knew I was going to be successful, but I didn't have a plan. But that's aspirational at best. And aspirations alone don't get you there. So success didn't really have a shape, if I would say. And success looks like daddy's girl, go abroad, and somehow you're going to figure it out. And that's why oftentimes when I would talk to people who are wanting to migrate, I would say, when you're planning to leave wherever country you're in, 3 things have to be true for you. You need to find out, 1, why am I traveling? What is the end goal? Is it to study and return to your own country and go and leverage all the skills that you've learned? Is it to build a life there? Perhaps, have a business or run your own thing? Or is it just, let's just go and have some fun? Like there are wealthy people travel, have some fun. There's no real thing in there. They will just go back and do whatever that comes their way. Because most times people were also blinded by the illusion of living abroad. I was one of those people. Living abroad or traveling abroad automatically meant you were going to be successful. That was my 21-year-old self thinking. Like I was just going to be successful so long I was out of Nigeria. And that might be true, but without a concrete plan, it would take time. So for anyone who wants to go abroad, carve a goal. Even the Bible says, if you don't write the vision down, there's nothing to refer back to. So it's always a case of, for me, to answer your question, there's nothing. Success just looked like go abroad and figure things out, which is why it was really hard.
What you just said, I think it's a blueprint for any immigrant trying to relocate. You have to come up with a plan. You can't just buy the ticket, pack or sell your belongings and be like, okay, when we get there, hope for the best. It doesn't work like that. I think gone are the days when that used to happen. You need a plan, like a strategic plan for wherever you go. And you chose Australia. That was where you traveled to, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Out of all the places in the world, why Australia? Because I think when I was learning about you, it was Canada, there was UK, but Australia was a lot faster. And that's why you went that route.
That's true. Look, in Nigeria, especially back in the day, it was like you go to the UK or you go to America or you go to Canada. I had family members in Canada. Now, the big goal was go and study and something was going to happen along the lines. Again, when you have a goal like that, you can't really determine where to go or where not to go.
Yeah.
I chose Australia because it was the fastest option. So when we looked at, I believe Canada at the time wasn't going to give me an admission until September of 2016. Australia was offering January. And back in the day, you could get the Australian visa in 5 days. It was that crazy, yes. There were people who were getting their visa in 6 days. And I believe the agent I was talking to at the time said, do you know that you could get your visa in 10 days? I'm thinking, I'm sorry? You mean I get to be out of this country in 10 days? Yeah. So back in the day, it was quick. You could get it anywhere from 5 to 21 days. Application lodged in December. It was quick. So those things were like, okay, this is really great. And kudos to my parents. We didn't have a lot of knowledge, to be honest, around traveling pros and cons. And the hard truth is sometimes I would say it's better for you to spend 2 more years wherever you are than rush for a 10-day trip. Because that 2 more years will probably afford you a better opportunity, get you in a better positioning as well. So you'll be more competitive with the type of visa. Now, the mistake a lot of aspiring immigrants to make is just put me abroad. I have a lot of people on my TikTok saying, I just want to come to Australia. When you say, what sort of visa are you looking for? They're like, I don't know. I just want to come and work. The Australian government doesn't just give work visa. People think these things are free. Nothing in life is free. Everything has got a price and a cost. So what happens is, even if you want to come to Australia as a skilled migrant, you're coming on the basis that you can add to the economy and you've got value to give, and then you can work. But people hear things like that and say, oh, just bring me to Australia. Let me just come and work. It doesn't work like that. Like if it did, like everybody would just come and work. So for me, choosing Australia was really the best route at that point in time, the quickest option, the quickest route, and we just ran with it. And to be honest, I have no regrets.
That's
Absolutely
good.
not.
This is interesting. Like you would hear about Australia, right? In Nigeria, you hear like, oh, Australia, it's
My
far,
continent.
you know. But nobody was. I can't believe in 10 days you'd get your visa. That is
Back in the
wild.
day. Back in the
Yeah,
day.
I had a guest. She's Nigerian and she was going to Japan, and then she told me like, oh, back then the price of going to get a Japanese visa, like just flying from Lagos to Abuja, was more than the price of the visa itself. She said then I think it was about
Oh,
6-7 years ago. She said she paid 10,500 naira for the visa to Japan, and if they didn't give
can,
you, they'll refund the
can you
money.
imagine?
I know, but
Can you
today.
imagine?
Exactly, like today, I've not even researched how much it costs now. And that's the same thing I keep sharing to people. Like, it's different now. The
Way
countries are
different.
not that open, you know.
Well, look at what's happening in the world anyway.
I
Australia, as an
know.
example, is cramping on immigration. UK is always cramping on it. And when you
Yeah.
hear the reasons, you're like, this makes sense. There's not housing. There's not enough housing for people. They can't keep bringing you to the country when they can cater to you. There are locals in here. And do you know the interesting thing? My husband was giving me a perspective the other day, and I was like, it's very hard to only look at things from your lens. He said,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Assuming you were born in Australia, you're an Australian citizen. Australia is the only place you've known all your life. You live here, you've worked here, but there are people coming into the country, immigrants. They're not competing with you who have no place to go to. When we go for open homes, right?
Yeah.
There's you, there's locals, there's Australians, there's you. Now, for them, it's like this is the only place I've ever known. Now, when there is shortage, there is impact to people who have nowhere to go. That's how they kind of think about it, right? So when he gave me that perspective, I was like, it's a hard pill to swallow, to be honest, because immigrants will also contribute to the country 100%. Like, I've got so much value. I contribute
Yeah.
to this economy, pay my taxes. I do a lot of really good stuff. Same thing as an Australian, except that they have no other place to go. This is what they've always known. So when countries cramp up migration or immigration generally, there's nuances to it. Sometimes in the news, it sounds like, oh my God, they don't want people, but there's real problems. And when you dig deep, you will understand there's like a lot of problems, which is why like coming to Australia right now, oh my God, it's an Herculean task with a visa because there's just a lot of unrest and troubles at everywhere.
That's a really interesting optics and angle that your husband used. It actually just took me back thinking about it. It's like, yeah, like I don't have anywhere else to go. I do this is, and especially like I'll say for here in America, some Americans, right? That city, that is all they've never lived anywhere outside of that state. That's all they know.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I can see why that fear, and it can be challenging for someone like a local to feel
Yeah.
threatened when they're not housing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, everything in life makes sense when you view it from the other person's perspective. When people wrong me as an example, I'm like, I'm pretty sure if someone sat them down and asked them, it would make sense when they talk about it from their perspective. So life is really all about perspective. Life is hard. Life is great. Life is easy. Life is difficult. It's all about perspective. It's
Yeah.
how the lens through which you view things from.
Yeah, and people usually feel like their lens is more valid than the other person's, which is
Absolutely.
not correct.
Which is not.
You can't measure people's emotions because you're not in the exact same position as them.
It's hard. It is
Yeah.
hard.
So 6 months after you got to Australia, your safety net was gone. Naira collapsed. And then you had to get a job. Because this is the part that most people who look at your life now cannot imagine.
Yeah.
So what was the first job you took?
Oh, Lord help me. I've never been broke in my life. I mean, I didn't come from like the most wealthy family, but I have never not had money. Now, being in Australia made me the person that when I went to the shops, I'm thinking, this bread is 90 cents and this margarine is 85 cents. I think that's in the States. So when I realized all of my parents' savings was no longer going to make sense, the veil in my eyes started to come off. It took a while. It took a while for it to come off. And for someone that might not understand inflation, inflation is really, you've got $1,000 in your bank account. It's still $1,000. It's there,
Mm.
except that $1,000 that cannot buy what it could buy yesterday. And like the money was in my dad's bank account, but it just wasn't enough anymore. It's like when you convert and things like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And to capital, I couldn't withdraw from my bank card as well because I had a Nigerian bank card at the time. So I was like looking at the few dollars in there. It's like, this won't work. So I started to ask questions and said, look, I've got teaching experience. I've got a fair bit of experience. I've done admin. I've done all of this stuff. Done travel agent. Can I get a job as a teacher? Or maybe even part-time teacher. Note that I was on a student visa. With student visas come restrictions. So you couldn't
Yeah.
just go out there and go for any job. So you had to work with like few hours part-time, etc. But when I would ask those questions, I was met with a lot of shock. Everyone looked at me like, how long have you been in this country for? Are you living under the rock? Why are you looking for a teaching job? Like people that look like you don't do jobs like that. Or why are you trying to get admin or customer care? This is what we do. And I'm like, what is this? You work in the chicken factory, or you work as a cleaner, or you work in the aged care, or you work as a support worker, youth support worker. So the very first job that I had was in the chicken factory. And it was about 15-minute drive from home.
50.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Wow.
So I used to carpool with people. I used to car tag with people. Bless them. They were also like Nigerians, so we would all go together. It was just like, we were in this cold room with different chickens that they hang in them. And then you would have to sort out the neck from the thighs and the legs. And it was so cold. Good Lord. So that's what I was doing. And you were standing as well. And you were just like pulling and sorting things through. The place was wet. You had to robe up like we're in a surgery room. And I did that for like a few months. And the people that I was going with, everybody was like, bro, this is insane. And we would have to wake up early, like 4:30. So they would come pick me, like bless them wherever they are, really great people. They would come pick me up, myself and my friend back in the day as well. So we'd go then. After that, I was like, yeah, this is not sustainable. So I got a job as a cleaner in Westfield. A lot of people might know Westfield. So I was lucky to be in the food court. So I was in the food court and I would clean the tables, wipe the tables, have conversations with people. I would end up meeting an amazing man over there as well, who would then introduce me to another beautiful woman who housed me for about a year. And we were paying
Wow.
subsidized rent with my friend. Even though those times were hard, I just did what I needed to do. I did the work. I had conversations with people because that's what you have, right? Learning. And I started to ask a bit more questions around, okay, if I wanted to be able to pay my tuition fully, cleaning wasn't going to really afford me that. And how many hours can I possibly do? And I started to ask a bit more questions as well. And there was aged care on the table. There was disability, like working as an aged care worker and disability support worker on the table as well. I guess I just wasn't very open to that option at that point in time because it was extremely different from what I had expected in terms of what was required to do the job. So I had to sit with it for a minute. Eventually, I got myself into working in nursing as well, which was really amazing. It was an opportunity for me to help other people have a better life and enhance the quality of their life. So the core mission behind it made it really great for me. But of course, two truths can coexist. You can love something, but that might not align with where you want to go in life.
Yeah.
That was kind of like where the shift started to occur for me.
You said something just now, and I want you to tell the audience, whatever position you are in life, how important it is to have conversations with people, because it
Yeah.
was conversations, asking questions that led you into finding more information that gradually elevated you?
Yeah, I would say this. One thing that schools should be teaching that they're actually not teaching us enough, especially for people that want to be successful. There is two things really. Articulation, like being able to have conversations with people. Conversations does not just mean talking. In conversation, you're asking questions. You're understanding the lens through which they live their lives. You're taking notes. You're taking lessons. You're building, you're getting a bit of an understanding, because when you talk, people see where you're at. And if they can offer you support, help, or whatever they would, if you can offer them support as well, you would. Right. And that's
Yeah.
when later on in life, if you need something, because it wasn't so transactional, you were just talking to people because you have genuine interest in learning about them. People think conversations is just about what can I get from Tony? What can I get from Tayo, right? It's always just genuine interest, which I feel like schools don't teach us that enough. The second thing that I would say is really that whatever I was doing, whatever stage I was in life, whether you like it or not, you owe it to yourself to do really, really great job, to do it
Yeah.
really well. While I was at the food court, a lot of people would see me wipe the tables, carry the plates, to paint what the job looks like. So when you work in the food court, you need to make sure the tables are clean at all times. As soon as someone was standing up, you need to stand there, wipe the table. So once the next person comes, it's not a dirty table. So
It's
that was the
clean.
job. So you had to be vigilant. You had to like carry a smile, make people feel welcome in the restaurant. And you had to pack all the plates and make sure things don't break. But people are watching, right? People come and watch you. They see what you're doing, even though they're not talking. And the man that I met just like, wow. Because I looked really young at that point in time. I was so young. I was so tiny. Like if you meet me in person, I'm only like 5'2". So when people see me, they automatically assume fragile. This little girl, why are you doing this then? I tend to get a lot of favors. Yeah. So for me, it's like those two things, ability to really articulate, talk, ask questions, to take it further in life. But more importantly, wherever you find yourself, just do it well. All the jobs that I did, I left myself. I left on my own accord. And they would oftentimes tell me, if you ever think you want to come back, you're always welcome. Yeah.
That that is a great attitude to have, being positive. And I agree with you. It's kind of like the same thing that's happened to me here in America too. It's hard work does pay, and unfortunately, right? I would say this, and I say this all the time. In where we're from, Nigeria, right?
Mm,
1 plus 1 does not equal 2,
yeah.
right? And the reason why I said that, you can work hard in Nigeria from now to 300 years. If you're not in certain circles or have certain grace or favor, it would not equate to your hard work. But
No.
when you move to some countries, Australia, Canada, America, in the
America.
UK, yeah, hard work does pay. If you put in time, if you put in hours, you relatively will get some form of ascension or trajectory to where you're
Yeah.
going. And maybe that's something for us, like, immigrants, when we see that, it's not something that we're used to. And we see that it's like you're giving a child a reward, for working hard. We tend to work
Yeah.
harder more or try to be the best
Yeah.
version of ourselves.
Yeah.
But I want to go somewhere. While I was doing research, right, I found something you've referenced publicly before and you've spoken about. You worked at a aged care home, and one time a client spat in your face. At that time, in that moment, how did you feel?
I was actually a young person. It was it wasn't the aged care at that time, it was the disability support role
Disability.
that I was in. Yeah. This person was a young person, and that's what we referred to them as. And they had some intellectual disability as well. So
Okay.
that's not an unusual thing. Every job comes with its hazard and risk. And that was one of that for that particular job. So in that moment, when I got spat at on the job, it was almost an awakening. I felt humiliated. It felt like I'd just gone through domestic abuse. To paint you a picture, when I was in secondary school, a teacher slapped me. He just slapped me.
In
And
Nigeria.
correct, yeah. Guess what I did? I grabbed my phone And I called my dad and I was crying. I wanted someone to come fight for me. I called my dad. I was shaking. I said, this person just slapped me. I was crying. I was shaking. In the moment that I got spat on, it took me back to that day, except I had no one to call other than my boyfriend. And there was no one to come and say, oh, why did you spit on my dear daughter? For me, that was like, I can't change this person. I cannot change the hazard of this job. I only have one thing that I can change. The situation that brings me here.
Yeah.
The things that I'm doing. And I remember calling my boyfriend on phone at the time. I was crying. I was like, you know what? You've been talking about like this old tech thing or something like that. Can we go back to that conversation? Because this is just insane right now. You know, after you got spat at, it wasn't like I could leave. Like, duty of care. I had to stay
Yeah.
there too. So that moment would be the awakening, the moment that said, every job comes with its hazard and risk and things like that. What risk am I willing to accept? Like in project management, everything comes with a risk, right? And when you present to your stakeholders, you're like, which risk are we accepting? And once they accept it, it's fine. So for me, it was like, today's the last day that I accept this. I've got to do something. But of course, I didn't just quit. Like, don't just quit your job. Like, the bills don't stop. But it was the beginning of
Coming.
something concrete for me. It was tough, but it was also needed.
That would have been challenging for me too. Even like sometimes I get to see patients, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes it's challenging and sometimes you hear interesting things, but it's just like you said, you have a duty, you know. In that moment, you just have to, whatever it is, you have to absorb it and do what you're there for, especially when it comes to healthcare and you're saving lives or you're trying to
absolutely.
manage care. About a year into you traveling, you went back to Nigeria, right? You saw
I
your parents,
did.
and
I
they said
did.
you were very lean. They
They
were
were shocked.
surprised to see you. They were shocked.
They were
Did they
shocked.
know all of this was going on then at
No,
that time?
no. I always weigh things. I talk so much, but I also talk so little. I'm that girl. So I could have a lot of conversations with you that would make you feel like you know me, but you would not have a clue who I am. So I spoke a lot to my parents, but I felt like with these details, what are they going to do? What solutions are they going to provide? It's going to cause more harm than good. And like, it just worked for me. For me, it's like, they're going to be bothered, worried. They can't change the situation. They can't just fly down to Australia. They were doing their best. And
Yeah.
it wasn't needed. It wasn't needed. And a lot of immigrants are not proud to tell people what they do for work. They're not proud to
Yes.
tell their parent what they do for work. They're not proud to tell their siblings, their family members. When I ask them, they name the sector. I work in the health sector. That sounds good on paper. I work in the mining sector. That sounds good on paper. I was that person. Oh, what do you do for work? I work in the health sector. What does that entail? It involves supporting people live a better life, quality of life.
It's a broad stroke.
Very broad. You say so
True.
much, but you're saying so little. When my parents saw me in Nigeria, they had so much worries. Like, I mean, you're tiny, okay? We know you're petite, but this, and you know the mentality of people when you go abroad. Suddenly you're meant to come back times 3. See,
Chopper.
it wasn't even like I looked horrible or anything like that. I
Yeah.
was me. But the fact that I didn't come back times 3, people were looking at me like, in Yoruba, Onreshewa goodbye. I'm thinking, what? I'm sorry? What am I supposed So
This is interesting.
it is.
It's
There was a night where I opened up to my parents. I didn't go into the details. I just said, it's hard. And I was talking to my mom and I was crying. I was crying because I wasn't too sure how to word what was happening, but I knew it wasn't what I expected. Like the reality of living abroad hit me. So being
yeah.
in that situation, from the girl that felt just moving abroad meant automatic success to the girl who was having to calculate what she bought and having decline cards sometimes. It was hard. So I sat in there just crying, and she said something. She's like, do you know, like if you decide not to go back, we're going to work something out. In my mind, I'm like, no, I'm not staying. Whatever it
But
takes.
yeah, I mean, children, parents, you're a parent now too. So I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
if your kid came, there's always that, urge to
pull the
protect
plug.
them, no matter
Absolutely.
the age. If you feel like they're having a tough time, it's like, okay, how can I
Just
help
come on, mom.
alleviate this? And sometimes their suggestion might not be the best.
No,
What they're just doing it to try to see how they can protect you, how they can help you, even though it might not be the best solution to that situation.
that's
Uh,
correct.
and this is not the first time that you've broken down crying. Last year, 2025, December, you're approaching what, 10 years, and you said you emotionally broke down again. And did that feel like delayed grief from all these years, living by yourself, having to deal with a lot of all these things by yourself? What happened?
In December, when I woke up after I'd become a permanent resident of Australia, I was sitting on the bed. I was with my husband, and I was like, I went back to 2016, 17, 18, 19. I don't know what happened, but I had a bit of a just a bit of an epiphany. Like I kind of saw myself living in those moments again. And I would remember how tough those moments were. But one thing that I realized was those weren't even the saddest years of my life. I was troubled, but I wasn't sad.
Okay.
It does have a name. I like to think of myself as someone who is slightly stoic. Like I can endure pain and I can go through the hardest things without complaining. I'm not a complainer. I talk, I do a lot of stuff, but I'm naturally not a big complainer. So in those years, 16, 17, 18, I can't really remember a lot of moments where I was crying, to be honest, or sad. I knew I was in trouble. I knew I was surviving. I knew this was hard, but it felt like, I guess that's the price you have to pay. But I came to a realization, I always say this, praise comes from remembrance. I came to the realization that I'm such a blessed girl. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like God loves me so much. One thing God made me remember was the fact that I was protecting your heart all those years. I protected your mind. I protected your soul. I protected you from so many things. Depression. I didn't have anxiety. I'm more anxious now than I was back in the day. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm a lot more anxious now than I am back in the day. And I'm in a relatively really great space. Back in the day, I wasn't anxious. There was peace in my heart. So on that day in December, I had a lot of flood of emotions coming in. It was like, am I supposed to be here? But the answer was yes, you are. You're meant to go through all that hardship. You're meant to experience a lot of disappointment. Things were meant to be hard. Right? One of my pastors would say something, and I could not unhear it. She said, she believes she goes through hard moment. So when people go through those moments, they're able to connect with her. They're able to have a eye up that if Tayo could go through those craziness, definitely I can.
Yeah.
She would say something like, I would be rejoicing with people with their visas, whereas my family was getting denied. And God was telling me that you have to do it. You have to rejoice and pray for them. Whereas she was living in denial, would have separated from her family for 4 years. Living in those thoughts, I was like, actually, you were meant to have all those problems. Because when people come to me right now and they say things like, a lot of people come to me for career support, business support.
Yeah.
And they say things like, this is where I'm at right now. I'm thinking, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've probably lived 3 of that. Okay, you'll be fine. Let's come up with an actual plan, something that is gonna work. When people come about visas, hey, it took me 10 years to become a permanent resident of Australia. I know the drill, right? So
Yeah.
it's always remembrance. For me, I had a massive remembrance, and I was finally able to just cry about
It's
this
like
day.
release all those emotions. It's like you've been
Yeah.
holding your breath, and then finally it's
Yes.
like it's okay.
I was
So let
I
it
was
go.
thinking, I was thinking, running down from the train station, tapping my Opal card, not having enough money in there, being scared maybe if the cops on the train came, they're gonna look at me like a fraud. This black girl, she's fraudulent. It's like being so scared, right? Paycheck to paycheck. You only had money when the next pay came in, and once you pay all your bills, the money leaves, and then you wait for the
Gone.
next one. I finally had the remembrance of those years, and yeah, had a bit of a meltdown.
I'm glad that you're able to express this because I want people to understand that, their emotions are valid. However they feel
Absolutely.
now, it is valid. It is okay to feel that way. And your time will come. It's just like Tayo is saying, she celebrated with people when they got what they were asking for. And eventually her time came, and
That's it.
it's okay to celebrate with people. I know this feeling that you're having, it is something where you've been waiting on something and then it comes. It's like you put so much time, so much effort. You see so much rejection. You're saying, you visualize the positivity, like it is going to happen. And then it just finally came. It's like that feeling when you're like, now it has come.
I
What have
finally
I
got it.
been? I know.
Stressing
like
about. Look,
looking around.
I read
Yeah.
this in a book. I can't remember what the book was, but it was along the lines of the pursuit of something is greater than even when you have it. Do you know what? When we got a permanent resident, I was like, oh, it's here. It's here. They sent it. And then straight off, myself and my husband, we had another meeting. We had like a 4-hour session. And we just went straight into the meeting. But that was it. That was it. And
Wow.
we've had to wait for a few things. But
Yeah.
we've also gotten a lot of things without thinking about it. So because in life, it's very hard to focus on the things that are not working. As an
Yeah.
example, I got 2 children, all right? Now, with my 2 children, they were one of the most spontaneous pregnancies ever. I literally just wake up and I'm pregnant. I never prayed to God to have a child. I was one of those people. I never prayed that, oh Lord, please give me a child. I never had to. But I've had to pray for other things. I've had to wait for other things, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I live my life like, what are the things? There's things on the right-hand side that you're waiting for. There's things in here that they just came easy. So it shows you that God has a plan and God is working at your own time. It's
Yeah.
all going to shape up. At your
I
own
like
time, it's
that.
all going to happen. It's give or take. But if you look inwards, I love this hymn that says, count your blessings. When you count your blessings and name them one after the other, when you compartmentalize things,
I
and
know that
like a
song.
lump in there, I
Yeah.
love it. That's one of my favorite hymns. You get it. You understand that God is working. That's why I never stress about stuff. But with the pursuit of a goal, that's where the fun is. It's hard to enjoy sometimes, especially when you're waiting for too long.
True.
But it helps to remember that eventually you'll get it. And if you don't, keep working.
In this conversation, right, you've made the reference to your husband. So let's talk about Noah, right? Because your husband is not just your husband, yeah? He's your co-founder, your mirror, the person
Yes.
who saw something in you before you even saw it in
Yeah.
yourself. How did you guys
Yeah.
meet?
Well, I met my husband in 2018 through a mutual friend. She just felt we're going to be good friends. I don't know what she felt, so bless her. We met and we didn't meet in person. We
Oh,
we were virtual friends for 4 years before we finally met. We just started talking and we would have really great conversations. It was there in all this odd moment. I would gloss around things. I would tell him I'm tired here and there. I'm working. I've got 3 work. I have to work 7 to 11, 11 to whatever. It was there. But even to him, my conversations to him were not from a place of complaining, like I mentioned. So I had to learn who I am in those seasons, through those seasons rather. I realized, oh, actually, I'm not a complainer. I go through things. When I've weighed all the options, and this is the only way at this point in time, I live through. So with my husband back in the day, we would have a lot of conversations. It was a good talker. Oh, good Lord. He enjoyed having conversations with me. I enjoyed having conversations with him. The conversation didn't have a stop. It wasn't one of those ones where there's a full stop. It just continued. It was a loop. So we both loved that. And that's how the friendship started.
That is beautiful. I think it's important that you marry your friend, you know. I think because sometimes you might not like your partner, but sometimes that friendship, right? You have your friend today. No, I'm not talking to this person. I bet it's just rest, But because they're your friend, not just like your lover, you still have that foundation where you guys are always Tayo, I bet call me, those kind of like play where it's just you guys like in sync, which I think
You
you
are.
guys have, which is beautiful.
Thank you.
I want to talk about how you actually did this. We've talked about how you got to this point. Now, how did you move from the health sector to a senior business analyst in 18 months?
Okay, so bless my husband. In all of those years, like I mentioned, both myself and I were having like lots of conversations. We would talk about what was happening at work. It was one person that saw me. He just saw me through and through because he was always on the phone. We were in a long distance relationship. But one thing about him, which was so different from everything, was he just wanted to be there. Because sometimes when I was at work, he was just on the phone. It was somewhere. It was always somewhere. I might not be physically talking to him, but he's just sitting on the phone while he's working because he's IT through and through. And he's always been in IT. He's always had really great jobs. He's always had the opportunity to work remotely. He's always had the opportunity to control his schedule. So he would always be on the phone. Even when I used to do catering as well. I delved into catering in all those years. Yeah, because I love cooking. I enjoy cooking. I love talking to people, getting a glimpse of what they want and giving them exactly what they want. I've always been that person. And cooking gave me that opportunity because you would tell me, you want jollof rice for your party? How about we had this to your party? Jollof rice is plain. How about we had a bit of a, chili salad and do a bit of plantain by the side? Like, so I was that girl. So I did a catering as well. And he saw how I planned event. I've supported up to event of like more than 300 guests. I've supported church conferences as well. I was doing it at the time with my friend. And then when I moved cities, I was doing it by myself. But we had a brand. It's called Fab Dishes back in the day. So he was seeing all of this traits inside of me, collecting requirements from people, what they need and giving them exactly what they want in the way that they wanted. He would see that I was good at planning events. I used to support people with interviews back in the day. When people would come into the country newly and they wanted to get a job, I would prepare them. I even had a moment where I was on the phone with people telling them what to say so they could get the job. I just loved doing that. I was the girl that people would call when they got into trouble. One thing about me is when you're in trouble, you're never going to admit that you're in trouble unless we're going to word it differently. So, people would do things on the job like sleep off or they would get into trouble on the job. They would come to me and say, Tayo, how do we frame this? Naturally, I just knew how to do those things. No one taught me or anything. So he would see all of these things because it was in the background. Or sometimes I would tell him, oh, this is happening. I'm thinking about it. I would go, oh my God, how did you come up with that? I'm just like, well, you don't go in front of people and say, I was sleeping. Like that doesn't, how do you say that? And that's part of some of the corporate lessons that I share on my Instagram as well for people. Like the way that you word things is really important. You can admit things, but don't be silly. He saw all of these things. He saw all of these things naturally inside of me. And one thing that bothered my husband the most was the fact that every single Sunday, I would go to church. I'm a choir in the church. I would go to church. I would sing. I would rush down to the house. I would start eating because I want to catch up with my 2 p.m. shift. So for him, it's like, oh my God, you can't even sit back and have food on a Sunday afternoon. What is happening? That it bothered him so much. And I'm thinking, I've done this for years. Like, what are you? This is normal. This is where I'm supposed to be. I don't know what other job I'm supposed to be doing in this country. This is all I know. This is it. So it wouldn't stop. And he would just say it in the nicest way. Cannot physically remember when he said to me, you have to transition to tech. He never said that. He just never said it to me, but he would point at my pain and the things I was going through and then say, this could give you a different life. This could be different. And everything about myself and my husband do it from a place of pain. It's from our lived experience. And where possible, we want to make sure people don't go through that sort of pain as well. Or at least they go through a different type of pain. And we want to learn from her story. My husband had lived away from his dad for 15 years. His dad had migrated to the UK. And it was meant to be like an innocent goodbye, see you guys soon. 1 year, 5 years, 10, 15. The next time my husband would see his dad was wrapped in, like he calls it, like an Amazon package. He had passed away. So for him, it's like work takes so much from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Means of making money takes so much from a lot of people. Robs you of your family time, robs you of you because you're trying to provide or because you're trying to survive. To him, he saw our work was taking all of those things away from me. So I had money in my bank account, but I was poor in other areas, like sleep, like happiness, like things like that. So for him, it was like, how about we lean on your skills? You already do all of these things for people, except that you're not getting paid for it. How does it sound? How would you like companies to pay you 6 figures for your natural skills? Even at that, I didn't take it until I had that situation at work. So my husband, now I would create a lot of framework, techniques, concepts. He's done all the jobs. He started as a quality assurance engineer, then he moved into project management, then he did Scrum Master, then he did business analysis. The only thing he didn't do was writing codes back in the day, which he does now because there's AI. So he would create a plan for me on how I need to study, the timeline, all the things that I needed to do. And I remember he told me about one certification as well. But that's not where we started from because certifications don't get you the job, unfortunately. You need to be able to do the job. So if you've got certification in one hand, but your skills are empty, this is not enough. But if you have this, you can get this. In fact, the company can sponsor you to get a certification. That's how I believe. So that's exactly what he did for me. And I would study. I had an alarm. I took a pay cut as well because I wanted to start to learn the corporate nuance in Australia. So I took a pay cut and went and got another job. I was so sad. I was complaining, this money is not enough. I don't like this money. It's like, you're going to look back and you're going to be happy. You have to trust me. That was a hard thing to do. And I trusted him. So everything started from me learning everything he built for me. So he built me a plan and I was following through all the plans. He also taught me how I'm going to do my interviews. I already know how to interview. Put me anywhere, I can interview anything. It's just I didn't have the technical knowledge and that's where he came in. So a few things that I did practically was understanding which of the tech roles do I want to explore. And it helped me with that. It's like, oh, you're a natural when it comes to organizing things, when it comes to helping people stay on budget, when it comes to analyzing risk, when it comes to collecting information from people and turning it into something, when it comes to recommending solutions for people. So you might be best exploring roles like Scrum Master or Business Analyst or Project Manager because those things, that's the natural skill required. What we need to build right now are the technical skills. We then did the second thing, which is around what skills do I already have? So we mapped out those skills and the things that I needed to learn, which were the technical skills, we learned that. And the third one was around what's the financial goal? People don't like to talk about money. I love to talk about money because you need the money. Some people are out there looking for 100K job when in fact they should be looking for 150K job. Okay, so we did the math. He asked me, how much money are you going to need that's going to help you quit all these 3 jobs that you're doing? I did the math. I said, look, this is the figure. So, okay, cool. Let's do it. So rather than do 3 jobs, you get 1 job and you even have more things that you get to move up the ladder. There was no career progression when I was working as a support worker, but in tech, there is, of course. So those are the 3 things we mapped down and I started to do interviews. So after I built the skills, I had some experience as well, worked on a few projects that he would assign to me, and I started to lodge in applications. I wrote about 150 interview questions by hand with colored pens. So yellow, pink, red, so it looked attractive. I'm a very visual person. So I wrote them with colored pens, this in the same way that I would say it if a hiring manager called me, in my words, not theory. And there was no LLMs back in the day. So I wrote it the way I would love to answer them, learning all those things. And I would practice with him, do a lot of practice. And in my very first interview, I made him sit on that interview so he could give me feedback as well. So it was there in the background. It was in the UK at the time. So it was there in the background, and I did my interview, and it's like, oh, babe, you didn't touch on this one, but like you finessed it. You finessed it. I like that's what I love about you. Like, you know how to finesse things, really. Like, I was like, oh my God, I did my best, right? So I didn't. And my very first job was paying me $800 per day. But one thing that stood out in there is the hiring manager said, would be insane not to give you the job. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. Your people skills is going to take you farther in life than any technical skills ever would. And that's something that God really blessed me with. We had really great conversation, and I loved that. Remember, the roles I was going for favored more people skills over technical skills. Of course, you need the technical skills, but with the people skills, you're there. Like the way that I communicated, like the emotional intelligence, like when I was talking to him, like the analytical side of things. He asked me, like, oh, how do you do this? Like there's something about you that I absolutely need to bring you on board. And that job, you couldn't do it outside of the city, outside of that state, rather. I was allowed to do it from my state. You had to be in that state. In fact, you had to go to the office. But they made an exception. Favor. Call it favor. But there was also the element of having what they need. Yeah. So that's kind of like my trip in simple terms.
Oh, you see, you said something very brilliant here. I've had this conversation with a couple friends, and sometimes they ask me, what can I do? Like, what skill? And what I'm about to say is what brought me into being in podcasts too. And I tell them, sometimes call 5, 10 people, right? Close people
Yeah.
that you value their opinion, and ask them, what is it that you will come to me for? And the reason why I tell them that is because if 5 people are telling you, just like you, everybody's like,
Yeah.
oh, Tayo, you have great people skills, you know how to. That is a natural talent of yours that you can use to see how can I monetize this now? Because it is going to be easy for you. It's not going to be stressful. And I think that is the same thing that your husband helped to shine a light on
That's
for
right.
you. That has, I guess, which leads me to the next question is talking about sync skills that you transform from your personal pain into a platform, and you pretty much told us the origin story, but, tell me more about like topics, like if someone was watching this, tell us about sync skills, topic, how we can, just a little bit, because they have to come meet you to get the full version.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With sync skills, it's kind of like a continuation of what I was saying with my journey. Having a tested and a proven framework, that's sync skills. I say to people, when you don't know where you're going, it's easy to go in any direction because, oh, A looks good, let's go then. B looks good, let's go then. Sync skills started because internationally trained professionals, career changers, everyday Aussies are staying in jobs that is below their skill level. They're staying in jobs where they are burnt out, exhausted, tired. They're staying in jobs where they couldn't be a present parent or a present partner. They're staying in jobs where they're earning below 6 figures. That's the problem Sync Skills is solving for a lot of people. This is not even about getting into tech or learning business analysis or anything like that. It's about helping people live a life that feels out of reach. Because that was me. Doing anything aside survival jobs felt out of reach. The Australian Computer Society of Australia, the largest body for for technology, they reached out to me and said, Tayo, what was one thing you had to unlearn as an immigrant? And I sat down with that question for like hours. Like, what was one thing that I had to unlearn? And if there was one thing I had to unlearn, which was what I said to them, it was the fact that survival jobs was my ceiling as an immigrant. I had to unlearn that. When you say you don't find people that look like you're doing something, you tend to believe perhaps it's impossible.
Yeah.
Whereas it's dangerous to live your life through the lens of other people because you don't know their background, you don't know their experience, you don't know what they're doing. You have to get out of that network. So for us, the problem that we're really solving with Sync Skills is whatever goals that you have, I want to make sure you get it. It might not even be, I talk to a lot of people, they don't eventually come onto the program because we have a program within a bootcamp sphere where you get to learn over a period of time. You build your experience, your skills, you understand all the corporate bubble, and then you go out there and work. But sometimes they don't do that. They come to me and they get a lot of value on how they need to move on in their life. You see, if you don't believe you can do something from here, nothing no one tells you is possible. If you cannot see yourself inside of it, it's hard. So a lot of our work deals with mindset, helping people who have believed this isn't possible before we even talk about the technical things. So the problem for us is whether you're internationally trained or whether you're an everyday Australian or American or Canadian, if your goal involves being in a job where you feel like you're adding a lot of value, being in a job where you feel like you can, to make you feel fulfilled, being in a job where you see the growth, you see the progression, you see where you can go. If that makes sense for you, then those are the type of people we love to work with. Those are the type of people we love to support with that process. And it's hand to hand from your mind to what you go out to say out there. You don't want to be the black person. You don't want to be the person on the job that is incompetent. If there's anything that I did a bit of a self-evaluation a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking me like, what is one thing that annoys you the most when it comes to the people that we work with? Because we do run a few companies and we work with it from like 5 to 50 members. And I said, what do you think? And he said, from what I've seen, gross incompetency. I see how that annoys you from the inside. And I was like, you're spot on. And that's the standard I hold myself against too. You have to be good at what you're doing. Whether you love what you're doing or not, you just need to be good at it, please. You need to do it well. Like, till you're out of that place, you owe it to yourself and the people you work with to perform excellently well. That's part of our ethos at Sync Skills. And that's really our mission.
That's amazing. I don't think people understand the importance of that. And, guys, towards the end, I'm going to talk about my own experience with Sync Skills because I had an unofficial, I got a little bit and it did help me. And I'll talk about that towards the end. But there's something powerful also about Tayo's story that I want you guys to understand where, like, me getting Tayo here, you guys don't understand, right, who I'm talking to. But here, Sync Skills was invited to the Parliament House in Australia. I need you guys to understand this. And I mean, Tayo, take me there because you met the former Minister of Home Affairs. Like, this is an immigrant. In under 10 years, she is meeting people that make laws of the country that she is living in. I mean,
that was surreal, Tony. Like, that was surreal. July 2024, when we received the email that we were to showcase our product, we were to showcase Sync Skills alongside Google, Amazon, LinkedIn, Indeed. But myself and Noah were like, truly, see as the man is diligent in his work. We truly stand before kings. When we got that email and when we got that invitation, and it was around this time we were doing the whole processing in 24. It was unbelievable. If this was going to come, we were going to have that opportunity to talk about what we do on that type of stage. And if it furthered us more, of course, gave us the opportunity to continue to believe in ourselves. But myself and Noah as co-founders of Sync Skills and Jason Solutions. Jason Solutions is our tech company. But each other as co-founders, we have several moments. Like anyone that runs a company will know that it's hard. And you're in a country where at that time we were actually on a temporal visa too. We weren't resident or anything. We only just became permanent resident last year, December. So we were temporary resident. As a matter of fact, Noah, my husband, was on a bridging visa at that point in time. Bridging visa is like you're not in, you're not out. He was waiting for a visa to be approved. So by no chance, we shouldn't be doing any of those things. We shouldn't. But For us, it was always, if you
It's amazing.
have value, you know that you can help people. You
Yeah.
have to shoot your shot. You have to take those shots. And even if we didn't get in, at least we tried, which is what we did.
Yeah.
So it was a really great moment. And when I stood at the booth that was given to us, this amazing man just walked up to me, Minister of Home Affairs. I'm thinking, okay. But one thing in there is, leading up to that moment, all the jobs, working chicken factory, doing cleaning, doing disability support work, all the skills, everything was needed in those rooms as well, was needed in that room. My ability to talk to her, my ability to understand where she was coming from, my ability to get 2 more invitations from her that would eventually turn into something else. Eventually, I had another catch up and met at her office, and it didn't just end there.
Wow.
But you don't build those skills in one day. Your journey right now compounds and it stacks up to where you're going to. So for us, it was always a reflection of when your big moments come. I read this from Atomic Habits. Like, your miracle will be as a result of like your many previous moments. It would sound like a miracle to people, but no one's seen what you've done. So for us, being in that room was a validation that we've got something. And no matter how hard it was, we would never stop. We would keep pushing. And I haven't even shared this publicly before, but we've only recently just launched our office. Like, this is our office
Wow.
in CBD, Sync Skills in the CBD. And to some people, it might sound like, oh, it's just an office. We're in Eagle Street here in Australia. But before December 2025, we could not work in the city because of our visa.
Yeah.
We had a regional visa, which meant you had to leave work and study in a regional area. But with all of those, we have every reason to wait till we get a permanent residency. We have every reason to wait till we become citizens, which is the loop that a lot of migrants that we find ourselves. We want to just wait till we become a permanent resident. You want to, I'm waiting for my papers. It's hard, yes. But whatever it is that you can do leading up to that, please carry on. Immigration will catch up. So for us, like being in those rooms opened doors for us as part of our scaling this year. We decided we were moving out of the home office and we were going to the central business district. We're going to the CBD where it's all happening strategically for the business as well, which is nothing that I never would have thought was going to happen if you asked me 10 years ago.
That's like your story is giving me inspiration because sometimes you hear things like this, but you never meet those people. It's like, oh, this person, that person is like, again, but hearing this, it just shows how much resilience, you believed in yourself. And like you said, everything that you have been through led up to this moment, and also having the right partner.
Oh my
I think it was
goodness,
very
yes.
crucial to where you are
Yes.
today. Like
Yes.
making that decision, making that choice, because in your story, everything you've said, you've had somehow Noah has been a part, even from just being just friends to
Yeah.
now your husband. You've both carried each other, and I applaud you guys. And I hope
Thank
anyone
you.
that's watching this makes brilliant decisions in choosing the right partner. Like, you guys don't
Oh
understand how
God.
important that is in life. But yeah, let's talk about your family, because you're doing all of this, the business, the corporate career, the national events across 4 Australian states while pregnant. You were doing all of this and you have a kid at home. So motherhood in one word, how would you describe that for you as a corporate woman?
Motherhood has changed me. It's really, really changed me. I'm super thankful for support. My kid's grandmother, my husband's mom, was my mom, and my mom, they've always just come around. My husband's mom specifically, she's been with us like all through. And my mom is just in our way as well. But motherhood is hard. And I like to think people kind of just glamorize things and people don't want to be honest, but it is hard. The pregnancy for me is very hard, but it's not even the hardest. Like, I would rate pregnancy pain like 10 out of 10. But you see, like, when they're here, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of sacrifices that needs to happen. there's a lot of things that needs to happen that you possibly cannot afford. I'm not even talking money right now. Time. Children need time. And that's one thing that you personally I'm unable to give to them in the capacity that I would have loved. So motherhood right now it's a lot of sacrifices going on, making sure something doesn't give, but I found something needs to give. Either I don't see my kids before they go to bed and I don't see them until the next morning, or I end up cutting out the time for the presentation or the project that I have to do. There's always something. So what I did was I stopped chasing for balance because I'm never gonna get it. I've come to the realization that I will not be fully available for my kids all the time, but I have to make up for that on other days. Motherhood right now, it's a blend of beauty. Coming to the realization that this is a long journey for the two of us, for the three of us, like myself, the kids, and of course Noah. It's a long journey that we are going to have to be learning inside of it and moving our lives around and pushing things out for us soon. It's I love my children. Oh gosh.
That's
It's
beautiful.
my son is bilingual. He speaks Yoruba really great. It's 3 next week Wednesday. He speaks English really great, of course, because he lives here. He challenges us, and through him I also learn how to just be, I don't know how much more kind we can
Yeah.
be, even at such a young age. Like, he's so kind. He's the child at school that if someone falls, he's there to pat them, support them, pick them up. And he's not even 3 yet, right? He's doing all of these things. He's learning, he's questioning things, and I'm just watching all of them like, okay, certainly we're doing something wrong. One of my desires when I was pregnant with him was every day I would place my hand on my tummy, because I learned this from late Mrs. Pastor Bimbo Odukoya. So Pastor Bimbo Odukoya, one of our preaching that I heard, she said when she was pregnant with her son, which is Pastor Jimmy Odukoya, she would place her hand on her tummy and said, "This child will preach." And when she was pregnant with Pastor Tolu, she would say, "This child will sing." And for me, I connected to that because I wanted to give birth to children who love God for themselves,
Yeah.
children who I don't need to force them. So I would say the same prayer with my son and my daughter. I would say, "This child will sing. This child will preach for the Lord." And my son's first word was hallelujah. And all the song my son knows, he just wakes up in the morning and starts singing this Sumi-Sola song and talking about his life glorifies God and talking about from his spirit to his soul. And for me, it's like, I might not be like 24 hours available with you as I would love, because the career, the business, everything is there, that we also need to kind of stop chasing balance. I'm going to continue to commit you in God's hands. And every time that we're together, you're going to love it. You're going to know that mommy is here. And when mommy is not here, you're going to understand that mommy is going to be somewhere else at that point in time. But when she's back, she's here. So motherhood for me has been a lot of just navigating those things. Like, okay, cutting in between. Like, yesterday I was rushing home, but myself and Noah, we were rushing home so we could meet them before they go to bed. And we missed them by like 10 minutes. I was so disappointed. I was like, gosh, I wanted to see them before they went to bed. But yeah, tomorrow
That's
they don't
great.
go to care tomorrow, so I'll be there. We'll be there together.
Oh, that's good. I think it's the joy of parenthood. And I guess you kind of experience a little bit about what your parents experienced with you, and you passing it down better and a more valuable way to your own children.
Children, yeah.
Is Noah still the cook in the house?
Oh, always would be. I had to agree. He's a really great cook. Like, Noah is such a great cook. I'm a really great cook, by the way. I cook really well. But
Yeah.
he cooks
w-
really well. Jeez.
That's good. That's good. I'm trying to sharpen my own cooking skills. Still working on it. YouTube.
Let's fix you up. Let's fix you up. Let's fix
I'm
you up
get,
for sure.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll have a segment in this where I ask you a couple questions about your country that you live in, in the country that you came from. So it's like a true or false. All you have to say is true or false. It's going to be rapid fire. So let me know when
Okay.
you're ready.
Ready. Let's go.
Okay. True or false? The capital of Australia is Sydney.
That's false.
Ha! It is Canberra, right?
Canberra. Yes, Canberra.
Yeah. True or false? You can be fined if you don't vote in Australia.
It depends on your status. If you're a citizen, you will be fined. Yes, if you don't vote.
Okay. True or false? Australia has more camels than Egypt.
False.
Actually, it's true. There's a
Is it?
region, yeah, in Australia that has more. I was shocked when I found out it has more camels than Egypt. Yep. Okay.
That's interesting.
True or false? A Nigerian won Africa's first Nobel Prize in literature.
Oh, yes, that's true. Wasn't a
Well,
a professor?
yeah,
Professor
Wole
Wole
Soyinka.
Soyinka.
True or false? Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups.
Over. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Nigeria has over 250 and over
Yeah,
500
the
languages.
languages. Yes, I was like, did you say ethnical? Yeah, it's a lot. I tell people all the time, like when people be like, what are the languages you speak? I'm like, I speak Yoruba, but that's just like 1 out of 500 languages, and they're like,
Yeah, in one country.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's a good segue into you going into another segment of us where you teach us a phrase in Yoruba.
Okay, so the phrase that I was kind of thinking about, I mean, there's a lot, but it always needs to tie back to values and outcomes, right? So I'm going to share
Yeah.
something like one thing that Yoruba people would always say is, I don't know if it's a proverb or anything like that, but like I'll say it in Yoruba, like, tó bá dẹ̀ fẹ́ ṣe dáadáa, o ní láti recognize pé o ní láti learn, o ní láti kéèyàn kọ́ ẹ bó ṣe máa ṣe dáadáa, or kó bá àwọn èèyàn tó ti ṣe rí, kẹjọ call for any advice, kobe soro, so that wale shit that. But the ethos is, if you're an excellent person by nature, you always find answers, right? So, to ba fe share anything, to ba fe was successful, to ba fe share in life, o le dashi at all. So, one need like to joke or okay, kini mo need, ti mo ba fe share, like that's why rich people are very successful. Kini mo need, kini mo mashe, awon wo ni mo need lati debe. So you're not just be toiling.
Okay,
That's
so I'm going to try to interpret what she said. I'm not Yoruba, by the way, but I feel like I get what she said.
You
Pretty
should
much
understand what I said.
Yeah, I think I do. I think she's pretty much saying is like anything you want to do it properly. And if you don't know how to do it, reach out to people that know how to do it. That's part of it, right?
That's it, yeah. Map out like the step by step. What do you need? Who do you need? How are you gonna get there? A lot of people work backwards. You have to begin with the end in mind at all times.
Okay. Say it again. Who do you need? What
Who do you need?
Yeah.
What do you need? And how are you gonna get there? So the who,
that's
the what
beautiful.
and the how. Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna write that somewhere. So
begin with the hand in mind. That's it.
Tayo, our last guest left a question for you.
Okay.
And she wants you to answer it. And her name is Exi. Exi is an Ethiopian sister that lives in China. She says, are you happy where you are now in life?
Yeah. I like that question because my husband was asking me last night. Last night was our wedding anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. And he said to me, like, are you happy? Are you happy with where things are? And my answer is very simple. I'm happy, but not satisfied. There's more, and I'll keep
That's
reaching.
good. I am happy, but not satisfied. There is more. That is brilliant. Tayo, I want you to leave this audience with something practical. Like you've built a platform around this. What is the biggest mistakes you see immigrants make when they arrive in a new country?
There's 3 things that I want to share when it comes to the mistake immigrants make. You always need to remember that the people that you meet, the first few people that you meet at that beginning, you have to be super careful and be certain that they are either on the journey that you're going or they've been there, but they make sure they are not far off from it. Because what happens is complacency comes in, and you just look at them and be like, well, this is what they're doing. It's very easy for you to fall short. The mistake people make is people do not sift out the people in their corner. They don't do an audit. You've probably outgrown the people in your corner right now. They're never going to take you to where you want to go to. They will never appreciate where you're going to either, because they just can't see. They don't hate you or anything. As a matter of fact, they're beautiful people, but they can't see. So the one mistake is people don't audit the people around them. They don't audit the friends, the partners. Oh, I met you when you picked me up at the airport. Now you're my personal Lord and Savior. You will definitely know everything, right? The second thing, especially for immigrants, is the issue of settling. Year 1, you're allowed. Year 3, that's fine. Anywhere from year 5, you have to walk backwards and say, whatever I've been doing year 1 to year 5, does that reflect where I want to go to? Because that will then shape the next 5 years of your life as well. In those years, there's visa, there's family, there's all of this craziness. Do not allow your visa to shape your journey where possible. I lived on temporary visa for 9 years of my life, from student to graduate visa to 491 visa, before I finally became a permanent resident. I had every reason to wait before I do anything. Do not stay stuck in the old visa loop. The other thing is time. A lot of people find themselves working in a capacity where they are paid for the time they spend there, as opposed to the value that you actually deliver. Why would a specialist see you for a few minutes? They're going to slam you with something that looks like a big bill. How do you spend your time? What does time mean to you? Because the things that you spend your time on is going to determine the level of your success in life. That's it.
Yeah.
If you spend your time on X, you're going to get X. If you spend your time on Y, you're going to get Y. Compounding effect. So what do you spend your time on? Are you getting paid solely based on the time that you spend on something, or the value that you deliver? Because if you're upset that this person just spent 10 minutes and they collected this money, you got it wrong. They're not getting paid for time. They're getting paid for that value. And value is not just quantified based on you spent 10 hours, therefore you've done the greatest thing. That's not how they quantify value. So those are the 3 things that I would say. Audit the people around you. Look at the years that you've been in the country. Think about where you've been, where you want to go to. Make sure you're not stuck in that visa loop. Do not wait for a visa finalization before you pick your life back up. And the third thing is time. What do you spend your time on? Because that will shape your life.
You know what? Everybody just get a pen down. I think the biggest thing that you said is something that I tell every immigrant. The people you meet the first time when you arrive into a country is very, very important. I'll tell you this. I remember when I had just moved to America, a Nigerian gentleman, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm here. Like, I'm ready to go to school." And he was like, "Go to school?" I was like, "No, like, you can drive taxi. Drive taxi first. When you drive taxi, then you can then try to see other things." But that was his mindset. That was all he knew. And if I had fallen into that same mindset, maybe I would have been stuck in that cycle. I would have never taken the step to say, hey, I can actually achieve better than this. I can do better. But that's what he knew. And he
That's it.
projected that to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ty is absolutely right about that. And time is money. You have to have some form of value. Tyre's time right now is very valuable. Trust me, like I said, I was going to say this. When I first contacted Tyre, and I got on the phone with her, we talked for, I would say like 30, 40, 45 minutes, right? Or 30, 40 minutes. But the last, I would say 10, 15 minutes, there was a lot of things that she said in that short time that she didn't know this, and I implemented in my whole podcast process, right? She told me, hey, I told her that my hand was on everything. And she was like, you can't, it's not sustainable, right? And she was absolutely right. I had to learn to delegate. Do you remember telling me that? To
I
delegate? Because I kept
yeah,
on telling you, like, no, this person is going,
I
and you
have
were
to.
like, you got to relax and get the right people. And I'll tell you, like, it has definitely relieved a lot of stress for me,
Oh, I'm
right?
glad that was helpful. Yeah,
It it usually would take me days to research a guest. I have someone that does that for me now, and I mean, she does amazing job, like
absolutely.
amazing. You know, I have someone that now helps me in scheduling my guests. The only thing I still have is like I still want to connect with my guests because I feel like I've not gotten to Stephen Barley yet where they just say, oh yeah, that's Stephen, yeah, Stephen, oh yeah, or Trevor Noah. It has to be like they have to have some kind of relationship with me. So I'm still working on that, but I appreciate you taking the time because you didn't even know who I was, and giving me that just makes me understand that you're going to give a lot of value to anyone that comes to you that applies sync skills. And I feel like sync skill is gonna go, it's gonna go global, you know.
By
And
God's grace.
I hey, we DFS too, we DFS. Let me pull the Nigerian card now. We're here first. Not that time now when I send you email 3 years later.
Don't worry.
So I really definitely appreciate you for stopping by. I have one
Thank you.
more favor from you.
Okay.
I think our next guest is going to be a Namibian, an African brother living in Germany. So I want you to leave him a question. What question would you like for him to answer?
This question's interesting. What would need to be true in your life right now for you to pursue the next big thing, whether it's your career or your business or your health? What needs to be true for you to embark on that journey?
Whew, that is powerful. What I'm thinking about that for myself right now. Like, that is good. That is a good one, Ty. I am curious to see because he's a very interesting guy. I'm excited about talking to him also. So I think I would love to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
Ty, thank you so much
No,
for coming.
thanks for having
If
me.
if there's one last thing you want to tell anyone that's watching today, anyone that is probably in that chicken factory stage, or anyone that has that only $4 in their account
Yeah.
today, I want you to look in the camera and tell them, what would you tell them?
I'm sorry that's how you feel right now, but please don't stop. Like, don't stop, but don't just keep going without a plan either. Talk to people, make sure what you're working towards is taking you farther from being broke. It's going to take you not closer to it. Because if you keep making the same mistake, you're going to be in that life and there's not going to be a way out. But the first best thing is don't stop. That's what I would say to them.
Tayo Oloja, everyone.
Thank you.
Definitely thankful for you stopping by, taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down and have this
Thank
conversation.
you.
I think it's very, very informative, and I hope everyone watching this has learned something and taken vital information. Like you said, from being a student to having a visa where you were temporary, you didn't know if you were going to stay or go, raising a family, and today, you know, you are a permanent resident of Australia. You've met the former Minister of Home Affairs of Australia. I mean, that's just amazing. I feel like as an immigrant, that is what you want to hear. Those are the stories that are uplifting, you know, and hearing your story is things that you read about in books, you know, and meeting someone that has actually like lived that experience. I see you like a celebrity here, which is good. And I hope anyone watching this will learn a lot from you. So if you're trying to reach out to Tyre, everything is going to be in the show notes of the episode. Just reach out to her, learn about sync skills. If you need any advice on how to move, especially in Australia, she can definitely be a good guide. To everyone watching, thank you for stopping by today.
Thanks, Tony. And really great work for the podcast as well. I'm confident, like, definitely there's a lot of growth in the pipeline. And of course, with you having a team, not you carrying everything in your head, that definitely helps for sure. So really excited.
Yeah, thank you so much.